Good morning, everybody. It's Daniel and Jen, and this week we're going to talk about the gallbladder. This is a really important topic because it's one of the most removed organs in the world. And if you don't want to have yours removed, today we're going to show you and teach you some of the ways to keep your gallbladder. Hey, how you doing this morning, Jen?
I'm doing fine. How about you?
I'm doing great. I love this topic about the gallbladder because it's
Yes.
like a assembly line in America, you know?
Yes. Yeah. So someone close to me actually started experiencing some pain and
Mm-hmm.
posted on Facebook, I'm experiencing pain, and described something and said, go, and was asking people on Facebook to tell them what they thought was going on. And of course, everybody was like, it's your gallbladder, it's your gallbladder. This person went to the doctor, and the doctor gave him some medicines or something, I don't know, and sent him home, and still had pain. So this person actually went back to the doctor and told the doctor it was the gallbladder. And this person had gallbladder surgery to remove the gallbladder. And so all of this was done by Facebook. It's just like, wait a minute. We have these organs for a reason. I mean, my motto is I work to help you save, I'm saving body parts.
Yes.
I know for me, I had an organ killed by radiation and I've regretted it ever since. You have to have, I mean, there's a reason why we have all these organs. There are some illnesses where they immediately remove them, like mine. I fought with doctors for 6 years or 7 years anyway to keep mine.
Yeah.
Because the very first thing, it was like, I had one blood test, one blood test, and the doctor said, you need to have this removed. And it's like,
Gee.
that's why I fought it. But then I had clients that I work with that have other autoimmune diseases. And for this one particular one, the first thing they do is remove the thymus. And I started thinking, we don't really know much about the thymus. Now I know more about it, but it's vital. And then we think back, okay, so my mom's generation, everyone had their tonsils removed.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? They don't do that anymore because they're important. And our generation, when we were in school, a lot of people had their appendix removed. And it's, you know what? They don't do that as often anymore either, because that is important. If you have an inflamed appendix, if you're not eating a healthy diet, and
Yeah.
it can be reversed. Now it can burst, and so there can be dangerous situations. So medical disclaimer, we are not giving medical advice. We are not telling you to go against your doctor's orders. We're just giving you information that you can use to do your own due diligence, because we want to help you save your organs. So with the gallbladder, oh my gosh, your gallbladder helps you with several different things, but it's a part of your detox system. It helps you to cleanse your body, cleanse the blood, but it secretes bile, which helps to break down fat to help with fat digestion, which you have to digest your fats so that you can absorb them to help with your cell membranes. I mean, there's so many different things, even to help with inflammation. It's just so important. And so a lot of times people will have it removed, and then they tell them not to eat fatty foods. So then what do they eat in replacement? Sugar, which can lead to a whole nother host of problems. So a lot of people who have their gallbladder removed, they still have a lot of health issues. They
Yeah.
still have pain a year or two later, and then they have elevated blood sugar as well.
Yeah. I mean, if we have God put organs in our body because we need them. So
They have a purpose.
yes, they do. It's not like they used to say, oh, you don't need that appendix. Oh, you don't need your gallbladder, but it's not true. Everybody I've known that's gotten their gallbladder removed, as soon as they eat something with fat in it, they have to go to the restroom because it runs right through them.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the gall problems is a big dietary factor with gallstones. It's like a high cholesterol diet, high fat. It mixes with the bile and it forms stones. And so you definitely have to watch foods that me and Jennifer talk about watching, like, red meat, things like that, things that are high in fat and cholesterol. I mean, what we learned in school, natural healing is, our diet was plant-based. And if you stick to the plant-based diet predominantly, you shouldn't have any problems with the gallbladder.
Right, so true. A lot of times people will switch to a plant-based diet and then they do start experiencing some problems. And it's not because the plant-based food created the problem. It's because they already had a lot of stones in
Yeah.
there. And now we're starting to clear up the bile. We're making the bile more fluid. So now we can secrete those stones. And so there is a process to getting those out.
Yeah.
And there are different things, and we can talk about that too. But like I'm thinking here in the South, we're both from the South. Most people like pork, especially like smoked pork. That is really common, or fried catfish. I mean, these are foods that people eat quite often, and those are probably the worst foods, not only for your entire body, but especially for the gallbladder. When we have heated oils, and someone might think, well, what is a heated oil? Or I don't eat heated oils. Well, anytime you fry food, that's a heated oil.
Yeah.
If you put oil on your vegetables and then roast them, so you could be eating plant-based, but then you're still heating those oils. Those become inflammatory. Sauteing your foods in oil, that heats the oils. They become inflammatory. Eating baked goods that have oil in them, eating crackers, eating potato chips. All of these have heated oils. And so you can be plant-based and still be eating these inflammatory foods that can aggravate the gallbladder. You could be avoiding fried foods and still be doing that. But if you eat anything fried, you're definitely torturing your gallbladder. You eat anything cooked in oils, you're definitely torturing your gallbladder. And then poor quality fats. Even if so, maybe you're not heating it all, but you're eating like toast is not healthy, but eating toast with a plant-based margarine. Those margarines are highly inflammatory. That's a very harmful fat for your gallbladder. So even something as simple as that, we don't think of it as being hazardous. But I mean, like, how many children eat toast with butter on it? That's maybe not even butter. Not the butter is healthy either. Or
Yeah. There's
dairy.
dairy. Oh, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of fat, a lot of fat. There should be a government warning about vegetable oils.
Yeah.
It's one of the most highly inflammatory foods, like Jennifer's talking about. I mean, obviously it will affect your gallbladder, but it affects your heart, your arteries, even your brain. If you have inflammation, it can affect any part of the body. And science shows that inflammation is a big driver of most of our modern diseases. So anything that we can do to lessen inflammation in the body is going to help us stay healthier.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, oils are hard to get away from, especially if you eat out. Oh God, that's
Yeah.
all they use.
Yeah. Now that we don't cook with oil, I will put some cold pressed olive oil,
Yeah,
high quality olive oil on in a salad dressing
yeah.
occasionally, but not often. And I definitely don't recommend it for anyone losing weight, but I will do that. But now that we don't eat those when we go out to eat, it's like anything we eat, it's like drowning in oil.
I
And you
know.
can really, you
Oh,
can really taste it. And things you just never noticed before is like, what? This was tasty before.
yeah. And then it gets to where it's just like it makes you feel bad too. Like, oh,
Yes.
hard to
Yeah.
digest. And think about what it does to your poor gallbladder.
Yes. Well, in so many foods people will eat and they'll say, well, that doesn't bother me or it doesn't make me feel bad. But it's because it's what's normal. So a
Yeah,
lot of times what happens when I work with clients, if they take these foods away for a few days, even, I mean, as little as 4 days, they avoid these foods for 4 days and then they add them back in. They're like, oh my gosh, they're so sick. They're burping. They're going to the bathroom, they're having stomach cramps. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, because it's normal, so you don't notice it's causing any inflammation until you cut it out. But it really only takes 4 days to cut it out and then test it back.
it's crazy. Most people don't know how bad they actually feel until they cut back on the garbage and they're like, oh God.
Yes. So if you had somebody walk in and say they're having gallstones or think they're having gall attacks, What are some things that you do?
Well, the first thing I do is get them off fatty foods, and that's the hard one.
Do you let them eat nuts and seeds?
A little bit. And then they'll
Okay.
ask, I had one ask me, I'm like, if they're having an acute attack, I'm like, no. I try to like go completely low fat, I like to go to smoothies, certain juices, salads, things that are really easy to digest while we're working on it. And that way, I mean, I had a client recently and she came in, she's been having gall pain. And she said, Daniel, I mean, I think I had her on a routine for 2 days, but she was still hurting. And so I recommend doing a castor oil pack. And that took the pain away immediately for her. And then, of course, I recommend a gallbladder cleanse. I don't know, with the one we talk about, the one you're teaching now with your program, the Schultz cleanse.
Oh yeah.
I put her on that cleanse. She did it for 10 days. And she's been doing good. It's been like 4 months ago. But she admits every time that she eats something that I told her not to eat, like something with fat in it, she gets some pain.
Mm-hmm.
But before they cut the gallbladder out, one of the most common treatments for the gallbladder was a low fat diet.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so what do you think about that? What do you
No, I totally agree with that. I love Dr. Schultz. So he taught a lot of our classes when we were at the School of Natural Healing. And so we're both familiar with him. And it goes right along with Dr. Christopher's methods too, which is why I love it. And for any of you listening, you can just Google Dr. Richard Schultz cleansing. It's free. He gives you a free, even like, I hate to use the word protocol, but a step-by-step of what you can do to help with cleansing, and even like some recipes. It's all free on his website. We don't work for him. We're not even affiliates with him, but we do like to use what he does. So Dr. Schultz, he's very loud. He definitely speaks his own truth. And so he may I don't know how he will sit with everybody, but I absolutely love him, especially because he speaks this truth that way. Um, but I do like what he uses, the different protocols. I like going through, like if someone's coming new to me, then yes, we go completely whole food plant based. We cut back on oils. I don't completely eliminate oils. I know you do a lot with heart health, and so I think that you do go lower in fats than I do. Um, for me, most of my clients have autoimmune conditions or cancer. And so I'm really focusing on inflammation. And so because so many people are low in omega-3 fatty acids and DHA, then I will try to incorporate those in some way, maybe with something like hemp seeds, which are also high in protein, or even like chlorella and spirulina, which are
Yeah.
low fat, but they do still give us those anti-inflammatories. But so I do as close to raw vegan as I can. If
Yeah.
someone is also having more digestive problems, then we may do lightly steamed foods, and broths and things
Yeah.
like that, along with Dr. Schultz method. I really like the potassium broth, Dr. Christopher. He always used potassium broth, where you cut potassium rich foods, almost like a vegetable soup, but with the peelings and everything, and then you strain it so you get all of your minerals, because I think that's very important. But for someone who has gallstones, who's um, number one, they have gallstones because they've been eating the wrong foods for a long time.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times they're constipated as well. And they may think they're not constipated because I hate that we always talk about poop, but diarrhea it can actually be a sign of constipation.
Yes.
Because you could be you're so stopped up, but something has to come out.
Oh
And
yeah.
so, and it's your body's way of flushing. And so your body's like, we've got to get this out. We've got toxins building up. We have to get this out, but you're still stopped up. And so sometimes people think they had the opposite when in fact they don't. And so I do like using like Dr. Christopher's cleansing kit if someone has the gallstones.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so we'll do that. So, and we'll focus on the whole cleansing, cleansing from the bottom up, working our way up, making sure everything's moving out, making sure the kidneys are working well, making sure the liver is working well. And with Dr. Christopher, he did the liver and the gallbladder together. And Dr. Schultz does too, the liver and the gallbladder together. So once we make sure that everything can be eliminated, then we start working on detoxifying the gallbladder and the liver, getting rid of stones. Something else that I really like is malic acid, which is in apples. And
Yeah.
so I know Dr. Christopher really pushed apple juice. Dr. Schultz, he kind of switches between the seasons, which I do love seasonally. He uses citrus half the year and apples half the year as part of his, depending on the season. But I tend to stick to the apples year round, just because they do have the malic acid, which softens stones. I know some people will do apple cider vinegar to help soften stones. And I think that can be a great idea too. If it's somebody who suffers from digestive issues, though, sometimes that can be irritating. And so sometimes I'll cut back on that. But while we're cleansing, I also focus on minerals. Dr. Christopher liked using apple cider vinegar with honey or molasses. Molasses is so important for helping to absorb iron. So we'll do things like that. So I just want to focus on making sure we're putting in plenty of nutrition as we're eliminating inflammatory foods. And sometimes we can't do it all at once. We don't want anyone to lose a bunch of stones all at once that haven't been softened. We don't want to jump straight into, like, I see those, you hear them all the time on social media and stuff, where people drink the Epsom salts and the 8 ounces of oil and all of that. And then they're sick all night. And we don't do that. We slowly work our way into this flush so that you hardly even know that you're flushing the stones. We don't want it to be a painful process or anything. These things get to be, like, we talked about trends one week, and these things kind of, like, why is that a thing? Why is it, oh, I'm having gallstones, so I'm going to just listen to this Instagrammer and do this crazy thing that could be dangerous, instead of following somebody with and slow. Well, everybody wants fast action, I guess. They want,
Exactly.
I've got this pain, I need to get rid of it right now. And it didn't come on all of a sudden, even though it feels all of a sudden, I'm having a gallbladder attack, is what people say, but it was coming. I mean, it's been coming for a long time, and it's going to take a while to get all of it out.
I think a lot of people are scared too when they have a gallbladder attack. The girl I was working with, she thought she was having a heart attack,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
but the gallbladder, I mean, as far as it causing problems like, killing you, that is very rare. So, like Jennifer's saying, a lot of these diseases we have, it took us years to build them. So we can't expect to cure them overnight. I mean, his Epsom salt flushes, I'm totally against them because it makes you feel really sick. And if you have, I've heard of people throwing their electrolytes off doing these Epsom salt shakes. It's just too much salt. It's like a salt infusion. I don't think that's good for the body.
No, no. And we need to maintain a certain pH of the blood too.
Yeah.
So that's definitely going to throw you off. It's going to really put a lot of strain on your kidneys
Oh yeah.
as well too.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I forgot to add, Jennifer, I do, like you were saying, I do put them on the lower bowel formula because we want to get that. I mean, the biggest thing, we talk about poop a lot, but it is our biggest channel of elimination. We have to get that going. You have to clear the highway.
Yes. 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 As a matter of fact, before we even get to the gallbladder flush, I make sure that they're going 3 times a day, every large meal. If you only eat 2 large meals a day, then it might only be 2 meals, but every time you eat a large meal, you should be going to the bathroom. And if you're not there, that's something we need to work on. And it's not something we do for life. So, like, I love Dr. Christopher's lower bowel formula. Dr. Schultz has a lower bowel formula that's very similar. And so there are other options out there, but these are not meant to be taken for life.
No.
They have herbs in there to help rebuild the system, create the cells, rebuild the stomach lining, get peristalsis moving again. So you have motility. So all the muscles work on their own. So you don't have to rely on those things because we don't want it to be something that's long term.
Well, yeah, they're training wheels. What we like to see
Yes.
is we use these herbs to heal people. And once the body comes back to a healthy state, the way we maintain that is with this good, healthy plant-based diet. And then if you stay on that and you make sure you drink enough water and get enough exercise, you may never need any more herbal formulas. I mean, I'll take herbs for certain things, but like for cleansing the bowels, no. We use those for just a limited amount of time. And the plant-based diet will take care of your bowel issues over time, believe me.
Yes. Yes. And so I do, like, I still do a cleanse. I have my Create program
Oh yeah.
twice a year. And
Yeah.
I still do Dr. Christopher's cleansing formulas and
Oh
his
yeah.
herbs. So twice a year, I do it to
That's
help
great.
cleanse everything out as I transition from winter to spring and then from summer to fall. It's just the way I transition with the seasons, and it just helps to keep my body in tune because I want to be strong and healthy, and I want all of my clients to be that way too. But I do. So even though I'm going to the bathroom, I'm still taking that lower bowel because when I do, the deeper I go into my detox, I don't want anything staying in there too long. But
Exactly.
I also don't want anything flushing out. And so when you do use things like this, you want to make sure, well, sometimes it's hard to tell. Can we talk about poop for a minute?
Of
Like
course.
deeper?
Let's talk about it
Really?
deeper.
So, like I said earlier, sometimes people think that if they have diarrhea, it's the opposite of constipation, where it's actually the same. When you take like the lower bowel formula, we're restoring all the cells and things like that. But we take the lower bowel formula, and if you start going too often, then you do cut back on how much you're taking. Um, but we want to make sure things aren't going too fast. So you want to maintain a certain balance. And so if things move through too quickly, then like if I'm eating, I could be eating the most nutritious foods in the world. So think of your dark leafy greens, so high in minerals. I'm eating all of these greens, but my transit time is too fast. That moves straight through my body. I'm not absorbing those minerals. I'm not going to be getting the ingredients and the fibers and everything I need to feed my microbiome. I'm not going to be making my B12. I'm not going to be making my vitamin K because it all just went too fast. That train was going too fast. But with constipation, we know that's the opposite. Things are going too slow. So even if I'm eating a super healthy diet, toxins get stored in the fat. My liver's saying, you know what, we're super clean. I have time to work on this toxin. I'm going to release this toxin and let it go into the lower bowel. Well, if I am taking too long to move things out, enzymes that are in there to break your food apart break that fat cell apart, and guess what, the toxins are released again where they were secure in the fat. They're released again. They're going to damage my intestines. They're going to go back up. So that's just one poor effect of going too slow. So we have to maintain that certain balance. We don't want it to go too fast because we need to absorb the nutrients. We don't want it to go too slow because we don't want to reabsorb any toxins. And so how do you know if you're pooping right? A lot of times people will actually do what's called check their transit time. And
Oh yeah.
so like think of a food that you eat that anytime you eat it, you see it come out the other end. This is the craziest thing to be talking about. Anyway, so think of corn. You eat corn, there's a good chance you're going to see corn at the other end. Now, I don't eat corn. I have an autoimmune disease where I can't eat gluten, and gluten and corn cross react. And corn is actually one of those that I have issues with. It's probably because I overate grits and popcorn and everything else growing up, maybe. Anywho, I can't eat corn. So quinoa is another one that sometimes you can see. And then beets. Now, beets can be a little bit difficult for people because sometimes beets will even make your urine red. And so maybe it's kind of hard to tell. But those are some, just think of a food that you can actually see. Not that we want to be looking at our poop, but it might be important. Your poop can tell a lot about you. So if you can see, it should take about 18 to 24 hours from the time you eat it to the time you see it. And so that is a good way to tell if you need to be speeding things up or slowing things down.
Well, if you wanted to slow things down, Jennifer, how would you go? How would you do that?
Oh, well, that's a good question. So, foods that take a little bit longer are fatty foods and higher protein foods. They sit in the stomach a little bit longer.
Yeah.
And so we want to make sure we're making wise choices in that way because a lot of proteins are hazardous to the body, create acid in the body. So we don't want to do that. And a lot of fats can be harmful too. So make sure you choose healthy fats. Adding avocado. Avocado is
Right.
going to add your fiber, it's going to add carbohydrate, it's going to add fat, it's got all three. And so something like that is going to be fabulous. It's very high in minerals too.
I
People
love
are
them.
afraid of it, but avocados are so good for you. Something like hemp seeds, high in protein, high in fat. And that is, it doesn't take much either, but that can help slow things down in a healthy manner. Or were we speeding it down? We're slowing down. Or instead of eating so many raw foods, lightly steaming your foods, that also slows things down. Like I know some people, they'll eat a salad and then they immediately go to the bathroom. Well, they're not losing what they just ate. They
Yeah.
ate, it triggered things to move along. But sometimes it moves a lot faster when people eat cooked foods. And so lightly steaming can slow things down too. But the opposite, if you need to speed foods up, then eating foods that are just higher in carbohydrates. And I'm not saying bread, I'm not saying pasta, I'm not saying processed carbohydrates, I'm saying whole food carbohydrates. So eating a salad, that is a whole food carbohydrate. Eating, broccoli, eating fruits, those are things that are going to help speed up without added fats to them.
But for most people I see in this country, it tends to be higher. People need to speed things up as opposed to slow things down.
Yeah,
Because most
really.
people
Yeah.
are, because they're eating the foods like you're saying, they're eating the fatty Big Mac, they're eating the barbecue ribs, and they're backed up.
Yes. Yeah. And they sometimes, like I said, they think they have the opposite problem, that
Yeah.
their body's trying to flush things out. It's not that it's moving to, they have a blockage in there that needs to be removed.
People don't like to talk about poop like we do. I'll get a client, I'll say, so how's your bowel movements? Or like they're good. They don't want to talk about that, but you have to understand it's the most important thing because the gut and the digestive system, it really dictates how healthy you're going to be. So that's why we focus so much on your poop
Yes.
and your digestion.
Yes. If you want to know more about your poop, I really like the book Fiber Fueled. There's even a cookbook that goes along with it, the Fiber Fueled cookbook, all from Dr. Will Boltzowitz. I think I said that correctly. He goes by Dr. B, Dr. Will B. He's really big and on social media. He's very easy to find. But that gives you a lot of information about nutrition and fiber. And even, like I said, even the cookbook is loaded with information and can help with different gastroenterology type issues. He is a gastroenterologist who left his private practice because he realized that he was performing surgeries, removing colons and things like that when he could be reversing illness. And so I like him a lot because, well, like me, we're saving organs. And so if you do want more information about that, looking at the Bristol stool chart, just Google Bristol stool chart, and it'll tell you more about what to look for. Not that we want to be looking at poop, but it tells a lot about you. Your poop can really tell quite a story.
Yeah, I think they can even detect certain cancers by poop now, can't they?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, instead of getting a colonoscopy, I did I don't remember what it's called. I did a stool test.
Hmm.
I can't even remember what it's called.
Yeah.
Anyway, look into that. Insurance pays for it. And so it's non-invasive. You don't have to be put to sleep. It's all you have to do is poop in a bucket and mail it in. And so is that weird? Yes. Do you want to be the mailman delivering poop? No, but I did not want to be put to sleep. I did not want to take any sedatives. My doctor said I didn't have to, that I could tell the doctor and the anesthesiologist I didn't want to do that, but I still didn't want to have a procedure that I didn't have to have. And I decided for me that I was willing to take the risk of this stool test, which has been proven to be very effective. And so it was the right choice for me. Not everyone can do it. If you have a family history of colon cancer, they won't let you do it. Insurance won't pay for it anyway. So we're talking about gallbladders, but instead I'm talking about poop today. If you have family history, it won't work. If you get a negative, no, a positive test back that they do suspect something in your stool, then it goes into a diagnosis area. And so what would have been completely covered by insurance as a preventative test screening is no longer. And so it could cost you a lot more money if you do the stool test and then it comes back that you have to have further testing. And so for me, I was willing to take that risk, but please weigh your own risk issues there. Yeah.
So that's how important poop is.
Yes. Yes. So, what are some herbs that you like to use for the gallbladder?
Well, I
I was
really
trying to think of those
like,
too.
do I?
I was struggling with this, trying to think of what herbs are specific for the gallbladder.
That's a good one. Is artichoke hearts considered an herb or is it a food?
Yes. Yeah. I think that, yeah. Because a lot of people do use artichoke as herbs. And
Dandelion. I love dandelion.
oh, yes. You know what we haven't even mentioned
That,
was so the gallbladder is affected by the fat that we eat.
yeah.
We need to secrete bile. We need to take herbs that help us to secrete the bile. And so a lot of times to help get that started, to get the juices flowing, you want to have something bitter before you eat. And so some people will take bitters.
Yeah.
But another thing you can do, this is so easy, is get a bitter green, like a dandelion green. That's what triggered this, or arugula. I'm not arugula's best fan, but I've realized the arugula that we grow here doesn't taste like arugula that I've had in other places. And
Huh,
I don't like the one I grow.
yeah.
Maybe I have the wrong variety, but it's really bitter. And so you could chew on it while you're making your dinner. And that helps with all the juices. It helps you to secrete bile. And you can even buy like bitters. I don't want to be naming companies, but you can buy bitters. There's even bitters like in oh gosh, I don't drink alcohol. Wherever you go to buy liquor stores, that you can even buy bitters in a liquor store that is included in some drinks. I actually used to be a mixologist
Oh
in a
yeah.
past life. Yes, I've gone from killing people to helping people better get better. That was when the Olympics were coming. But you can buy. I actually went to school to learn how to be a mixologist. Anyway,
Wow.
you can buy bitters that come in a dropper, and they do have dandelion. So I didn't mean to go off track, but it just triggered. Yeah.
Yeah.
So dandelion's a great one. Yes.
Barberry.
Yeah,
Uh,
barberry.
wait, I think, wait, no. I believe it is barberry. Yeah, I think I used that one.
Chicory root.
Yes.
Yeah. Um, Gosh, I can't think of some other ones, but even like citrus peel,
Hmm.
and things like that. Just anything that's really bitter. Think of your bitter foods. We don't here in the US, we don't eat a lot of bitter foods, but those are just really great for digestion, for detoxification, and for getting the bile flowing. We would need bile the reason why we get stones is we're eating a poor diet. Bile is recycled. And so maybe we're eating something inflammatory, something really high, maybe like fried shrimp used to be my favorite food. Talk about, I love it. Like I'm thinking about it right now. But I definitely wouldn't eat it now, but it's battered, it's
Hmm.
deep fat fried, it's high in cholesterol because shrimp are high in
Oh
cholesterol.
yeah.
And then we're adding a trans fat by frying it. Anyway, we put that in our body and our bile is secreted. Hopefully, we ate something bitter so we do get enough bile secreted. But if we don't, we have a little bit of bile that comes out. It doesn't really break it all down. It's getting kind of sluggish. It's reabsorbed. So now we have this gummy stuff. And you know what? I want some hush puppies too. So now I'm going to eat hush puppies or French fries and I eat them and a little bit of bile comes out and it breaks it down and it gets a little bit more sluggish and it gets reabsorbed again. And then the next day I go and I'm like, you know what? I feel like a milkshake today. That's very high in dairy fat. And so I'm drinking that down And maybe I'm going to stop by and get a donut, and a little bit of bile comes down. It's getting even more sluggish. And now I start forming stones in there. And so you can see it's taken me a while to get these stones, and they're tiny. But if I keep eating like this, maybe I'm going to go and have a cheeseburger today, then it's going to just keep getting worse. I'm going to get more stones. Some of them start to stick together. So now I'm getting sick. I have these pains, and I start going to someone like me, and I need help with this. Well, I need someone, number one, to help me clean up my diet. We can't have the fried shrimp anymore. We can't have those French fries. And it's not we can't have, of course I could still have it, but that's not going to help me with my health. That's not going to help me keep my gallbladder. That's not going to help me get rid of these gallstones or the pain. If I want relief, I need to clean it up. I need to be eating real whole plant foods. I need to be drinking green juices, but I don't want to go cold turkey either. If I change my diet really fast, I'm going to be sick as a dog. I am going to have flu-like symptoms. I'm going to have horrible headaches because I have all these toxins stored in my bodies from my body and my organs from these inflammatory foods. And so I do have to go slow. And so here we are always looking for that quick fix. And the quick fix can be really harmful because I don't want a big gallstone that hasn't had time to soften to get lodged, which you very rarely hear that, but it is possible. But if I go slow, I open up the eliminatory channels, I start to use bitters before I eat, I start chewing my food instead of rushing through my foods, then that's going to help me to thin out that bile. The bile is going to start flowing a little smoother. My digestion is going to improve. And so I think that is, I got off on another tangent, but I think that's a good way to start.
That's the best way to do it. That's the most intelligent way to do this. Like we're saying, and the body can take a lot of punishment. It can take a lot of crap food. It could take years before you start having problems. Because look, I used to eat I used to eat really bad stuff.
Me too.
But the point is, the body's really resilient. And I've worked with people that have had this problem.
Yeah.
And after they follow the teachings, like, the plant-based diet, the herbs, they'll tell me, yeah, Daniel, when I eat something that you tell me not to eat, I start to have some gallbladder pain. I was like, well,
Yeah.
that means you're not finished. And look, I don't,
Yeah.
and if you tell
I love
somebody they
that.
have to eat clean 100% of the time, they don't want to hear that. So I say 80%, try 80% at first.
Yes. Progress over perfection.
Yeah. And that way,
Yes.
it's a slower transition, but also like me and Jennifer, you may not believe it now, but you start to like love eating this way. I mean, it's so
Yes. I don't
good.
want to eat those foods anymore. I don't
Yeah,
want to.
me
Yeah.
either.
I don't want to. I know, number one, like if I think back to like I said, fried shrimp, I think back to my memories of fried shrimp. I love fried shrimp, but I can just imagine right now how greasy that would be if I ate it. It would not, my memories would be smashed. It would not taste the way I want it to taste. And then I would feel horrible after I ate it too. And so I'm not going to do it because I know I would feel awful, and then that would ruin my memories of eating fried shrimp.
Your memory is always better than when you go back and you eat that food that you remember being so good. It never is, because I went back and tried something like it's not as good as my mind remembers it to be.
Right.
It's strange, but
It's true.
it's good because it's easier to stay on a clean diet that way. I mean, I prefer the stuff that I eat now. My
Me too.
vegetable soups, my fruit smoothies, my juices, my vegetable casseroles,
Mhm.
so
Yeah, even my everyday salad. It's like if I don't
yes.
have my salad every day, then I'm like, I need a salad. I got to go somewhere to get a salad.
I love salad. I love salad in the summer. That's like my go-to in the summer.
Yes. But I remember like learning, well, I had studied Dr. Joel Furman a long time ago, but
Oh
then
yeah.
at the School of Natural Healing, when we did his book, and he's like, you need to eat a pound of raw and a pound of cooked greens every day.
Yeah.
And I was like, who the heck could do that? And now I do it every day. And I'm like, it took me a long time to get there, but now if I don't, I'm like, I do not feel good. I need my veggies. Yeah.
We did a podcast about that, and I had one of my listeners said, I cannot imagine eating a pound of raw vegetables a day. Like, can you show me how you do that. I was like, sure. It's not
Yes.
that daunting. Once you look at it, it's not that much.
No, it was to get started though. Yes. So if you need help getting started, please reach out to us because we've been there. We know
Oh
how
yeah.
hard it was to take that first step and how to get where we are now. Anyway, I think we should probably wrap up today.
Okay.
Please let us know if you enjoyed this episode. Let us know if you learned something new and if there's something else you would like to know about what we talked about today, because we love to hear from you and want to help you. That's the whole purpose of this podcast. We want to we want to make sure we're serving you. So
Yeah.
thanks for joining us.